So despite all our efforts to make sure that we don't get errors, sometimes there is a genuine error that we have. For example, a user might be searching for a name. Let us say in this case, I'm searching for Havish, and the name genuinely does not exist in our list of customers. Now, the question is not how we can avoid the error, because the error is going to happen. The question is how can we present the error to the user in a more meaningful format. So if you write VLOOKUP, column B, C, and D, number 3 as the column number, and then false as the lookup type. As we expected, we are getting an error when we are searching for Havish because it doesn't exist in the database. Now, the NA is not really very descriptive because it doesn't tell the user why the error happened in the first place. Also, if you're trying to sum up these numbers, another challenge is that unless and until you deal with these NA values, you will not be able to see the result of any formula at the bottom. So one way or other, we have to fix this. Now, I know that my function is not incorrect. The VLOOKUP is doing its job. It's just that the name doesn't exist. So VLOOKUP doesn't know what to do and it results in an error for us. So we will write if error. Now there are two arguments here. The first one says value and the next one is value if error. Now, if error says that if this entire formula is resulting in a value, then the value should be shown as is to the user. But in case there is an error, then the replacement for that error should be anything that we want. So for example, if I put a blank, so I'm just putting two double quotes here. You notice that the third formula is not giving us an NA error, it is just showing us a blank. Now, this is very dangerous, right? Because if you're presenting this formula to a user, the user might get confused. Maybe the user thinks that we forgot to write the formula in the last cell, and that's the reason the result is not coming. So a blank is great when you're working with your own files, but a blank is not good because it might confuse the end user who doesn't understand why is the result coming as a blank. So what I want to do here is to write, let's say name does not exist. Now this is a more descriptive answer. And as you can see, now in the third one, it is telling us name does not exist. And obviously the sum formula will now do its job without having any issues. In case you also want to highlight these issues in a different color, what we can do is, I'm just copying one more name here. Okay, so what we can do is to select all the formula cells, go to conditional formatting, select highlight said rows, and then say text that contains. This means that wherever we are finding a text called name does not exist, that particular cell will be colored red. So two things are happening. One is the result that we are showing to the user that the name does not exist in the database. And also we are also highlighting that cell to be very clear in telling the user that there is a problem with this value that you're searching for. Go and search for it in a different database. So putting the color is not mandatory, but I would strongly recommend you to get in the habit of doing this. This is how the final formula looks. Remember, the VLOOKUP did not change. We're using the same VLOOKUP that we were using earlier. The only difference is that there is a prefix of an if error, and at the end we are giving a result of our choice. Inside the double quotes, you can write whatever you want to write.